Welcome back to another episode of Pacific Matters. My name is Tomas Manglona, reporting on Saipan. In this episode, we're taking a closer look at the cannabis industry in the Sinamay. We sit down with Victor Cabrera, the owner of T Marianas, and Alexis Hofschneider, the general manager of Common Wealth Cannabis. First, we introduce you to Victor.
My name is Victor Cabrera. I am the owner of T Marianas, the first licensed cannabis grower in the Sinamay. We are here in my shop. This is my flower room where we're currently in. The plants in the background are in their flowering stage, and I'm an indoor grow, class 1, which is only allowed 750 square feet per law, as per our regulations. As a producer, I am allowed to grow indoors. Well, according to my plan, it's only indoor production. I do have the option of doing an outdoor and indoor combination. I chose to do strictly indoors for now. Hopefully I might be able to expand one day. But as a producer, I grow and I can only sell to retailers, lounges, and wholesalers. I am not allowed by law to sell directly to consumers. And I think that helps out, especially with our tiers, such as our retailers. It helps to protect them and ensure that their business is going to be successful just as much as the growers will be. So as long as we follow that protocol and that setup that they have, I think it's going to work out. The industry will thrive, hopefully. I am a farmer. I do a lot of backyard gardening now. I've kind of scaled down, and I do backyard gardening, sustainable farming, gardening. And from there, when we heard about the cannabis law being introduced, I kind of started thinking about it. So after a few months, my wife and I decided to, dig deeper into it and find out what it's about and how do we go about being a part of this industry. And from there, we decided to apply. So the application process in itself was a couple months or so. That took a while, and then we went through the zoning, and then setting up the shop itself, and then getting inspected by the commission. And once all the regulatory processes were completed, from fire safety to occupancy, I got inspected by the commission, and from there, when they found that everything was in order, I got my license. As a producer, it's kind of tricky. I'm not gonna lie. I'm used to farming outdoors. All my vegetables, everything, and my history's outdoors. So coming indoors was a new learning style for me. And boy, did it come with a lot of curves. There were a lot of learning curves thrown at me. So I had to adjust. Day-to-day operations basically consist coming in and ensuring that the plants are fed, they're doing well, they're not drying out. I keep a very strict IPM regimen, which is insects and pest management system. Nobody's allowed in here, including my family. And I've had that come where my brother would stop by and he's like, "Hey man," I'm like, "No man," and we talk outside. It's only because of the fact that once insects or pests are introduced, it's really hard to maintain and clean up. So the best solution is just not to have the problem in the beginning. So I keep a very strict IPM regimen here, and I leave work to come here and continue work. So I spend a few hours here daily just to ensure that the plants are doing well. And I monitor the environment, make sure that the AC is working well, the dehumidifiers are kicking in, and all the temperature and controls are in place. Well, I'm not pushing out as much product as I would like, to be honest. I feel that I can still do so much more, and again, it's because of the fact that I had to learn more about lighting and temperature controls and all of this stuff that's grown indoors. I haven't grown indoors before, and this is my first attempt at it, and there were a lot of things that I had to learn along the way. And now that I'm about 6 months into the process of growing, I've been able to sell a fair amount to the retailers, and I'm looking to increase and improve my production within the next few months.
Welcome back. Now in this next segment, Victor shares the process from seed to sell and his view on the future of the industry.
If you grow from seed, you're looking at about anywhere between 4 to 5 months from seed to harvest. That's because the plant needs to go through its vegetative state, and then from there it goes into its flowering state, and then the harvest itself. Now, that's just from seed to harvest. However, you add on another anywhere between 2 weeks to 4 weeks for curing, which is you take the product after it's dried and trimmed, and you let it sit and set for a couple weeks and kind of marinate, because you don't want to just take it from trimming and sell it out, because there's still a lot of chemicals in the plant itself that you want to kind of slowly go away, and you want to enhance the flavors, the scents, the smells. So it takes a pretty good amount of time. You're looking at about 6 months from seed to sell. Now, if you were doing cloning, which is what I've switched over to, you're looking at eliminating about 4 weeks, 5 weeks from that whole process. So it's still anywhere between 3 to 5 months. Yeah, so it's a pretty long process, and the trick would be to try and get a cycle where you'll be able to move a certain amount of plants every month. So in creating that cycle, you ensure that your product is consistent, and you're able to provide to the retailers who are expecting supply to be coming in. So it's a process that's a little bit tricky for me. I'm still learning it, and it's not and, you know, there's no document out there, book that's made for this, so I'm kind of figuring it out as I go. I look towards the stateside states that have legalized cannabis and are in the industry already. I look towards their policies more so versus their techniques and their growing methods. I think the growing part of it I can figure out on my own, but ensuring that I stay aligned with what's required by law, and how, you know, guys in the States are doing it, how these companies are doing it, you know, what software they're using, what applications, you know. So those are the things that I keep up to date with. I don't really, I kind of try to rely on my knowledge of plants. So I don't know, it's kind of hard because I always see it this way. I'm also a beekeeper. So the one thing I've learned was, as a beekeeper here in the Pacific, it's completely different from beekeeping in states, right? Stateside. You have to deal with winter. Here we've got summer all year round. Our bees are productive all year round. They don't need a time to go to sleep, you know what I mean? Like winter, they don't hibernate, they don't, you know, so it's different. And for the most part, I do, you know, follow up, and I read on information from the states like Colorado and Washington. Arizona is the latest one that's pushing out all kinds of producers. So yeah, I try to keep up with the news in regards to that. The commission always throws out this word every time we meet, you know. As a pioneer, I'm like, man, that word's a very scary word for me, because that's a double-edged sword. You know, I mean, you look at all the pioneers who went to California way back, and a lot of them didn't make it, you know what I mean? So it's a learning experience that I've had with the commission, where we work together. I share information with them. I ask questions constantly, and you know, we want to try and see how we can help each other, because they are the leading authority in the industry. And I like to see how we can work together to ensure that we keep the industry secured here in the CNMI. And I say this in the sense where I've watched where companies in Colorado and California have come in and taken over and basically closed out all of the local growers, the local retailers, and they've gone big, they commercialized it. And that's fine for the industry. Yes, our government will benefit from it, but on the same note, will our people benefit from it? And I think by working closely with the commission and sharing those thoughts, we can always make sure that we get back to that. And we always make sure that, you know, we protect our industry here for our people first. And then, you know, we expand from there on. And as a, you know, a part of my livelihood, I want to ensure that this business survives, you know. I was telling my wife that one day I'd like to pass this business on to my son, who's still a minor now. You know, he's 17, but, you know, by the time he's 21, hey, who knows? Maybe I might retire early, and he'll be paying for my trips to, you know, off island in Japan. because I like sushi. So I've come across people who still, you know, I mean, the stigma is still there. I'm not gonna say that it's not. The stigma is still there. Understanding cannabis and its purpose is something that's gonna take a while. I believe it might take a while. I am fully in it for the medicinal values that I've seen it do for all kinds of people around the world that I've, you know, there's so many documented cases. I'm in it for the local perspective where, hey, it's been around for so long and all, you know, all these reasons. However, I do understand the concern parents have. I'm a parent. I understand that, you know, a lot of people are worried about, oh, this is gonna bring in crime, this is gonna do all kinds of stuff. Honestly speaking, even one of my neighbors in the units was kind of concerned about that at my public hearing, and they brought it up, and they were concerned about safety and security. It's been 8 months that I've been here, and number one, I don't have any customers because I'm only a grower, so no one's allowed to come into my shop. So it's slowly gonna take its time to make people understand that the stigma, it will slowly fade away. And if we understand the industry, we understand the purpose, we understand what growers, producers, retailers, lounges, you know, what their jobs are and what it entails, I think we'll be able to not overcome it, so to speak, versus understand it better. Cannabis is not for everyone. That's understood. Cannabis is not for everyone, but for those that do need it, I am very happy that it is available. And when I say in terms of needing it, I mean in terms of medicinal value.
Welcome back. Now we sit down with General Manager of Common Wealth Cannabis, Alexis Hofschneider.
My name is Alexis Hofschneider. I am the General Manager of Common Wealth Cannabis. So my partner and I have known each other for a long time. We met in high school, and when we were both back in the CNMI in the last few years, we have both, you know, reconnected and, you know, discovered we had shared values. You know, we were passionate about, you know, driving the private sector and helping the community through that angle. And entrepreneurship is something that we shared in common, the passion that we had in common. And when the cannabis industry started to unfold here, we saw that as an opportunity to really put those values forward and really live them. As for me personally, I am very passionate about cannabis. So it was a really great opportunity for me when he approached me last year and asked me to hop on board. And we acted very quickly, and now here we are. We are a cannabis dispensary. So we are located in Garapan, right by Naked Fish along Micro Beach Road. So we are basically a one-stop cannabis shop. You can buy your product here. You can buy some easy accessories. I think it's been interesting trying to research how to really build the company, and especially from like an operational standpoint and marketing even, because we only have like the US to look to, and their regulatory environments are way different. You know, we modeled the law after that, but because of like the sheer size and the way the market works, like we have entirely different market that we're working with, you know, different regulatory environment, different limitations with regards to like shipping and logistics and things. So it's been interesting trying to extract from the current legal market like exactly what we needed here. And there were a lot of stuff that we just didn't know until we tried it. You know, our market is different. Our target audience is has their own tastes, and we're trying to reflect that and serve that. It might not be the same as the mainland United States. It might be a little bit, I think for me, the US is, I mean, they're like basically like the cutting edge of cannabis, right? And so we're just trying to ride that wave and understand like what that industry should look like here at this point. Well, do I see the business as being part of the new wave of businesses coming out like post-pandemic and and whatnot. Like I said earlier, I think it is a necessary step. I think building business and building private sector in general is a really important thing for any economy, but it's especially important here because, we've largely only exported tourism in, recent memory, and this is one of the first products in a long time, if not the first product, where it is actually manufactured, grown from here, locally sourced, our sunlight, our water, our soil to some extent. And throughout the supply chain, we're working with entirely locally based businesses throughout the supply chain.
Welcome back. Here's more of our interview with Common Wealth Cannabis.
We start off just anticipating harvest dates. We work with the local producers here on Saipan because we're not allowed to bring in any product from off island, including from the neighboring islands. So we go to them when close to the anticipated harvest date. We negotiate a purchase and it gets delivered here. And while it's here, we do our own, set of quality control on the product. We, if necessary, do a little bit of curing, a little bit of drying. We package very frequently so that we ensure that the weight going into the bag is actually what's in the bag when it goes to the customer. I think we package maybe like twice a week, just to make sure that all the product is like new, quote unquote new, right? We package the products, we make our own pre-rolls. We do intend on doing some vertical expansion. We're looking into establishing our own production facility and even a second retail location. And those are plans that are coming on the pipeline for us. Unfortunately, there's quite a few issues that we face that are common to all the legal markets in the US, and that has a lot to do with ancillary businesses that are regulated at the federal level, things like banks, insurance. Sometimes those kinds of services are not available to us because of regulatory issues within those industries. We totally understand and we try to work around that, and that's not something that we can really help within the CNMI government. But some issues that we hope to see more, some issues that we hope for more action on, or we hope to see some movement on within the CNMI government would be with regard to zoning and taxes. We would like a little bit more stakeholder input as we move forward with, changing the laws and regulations around how cannabis businesses are permitted. We feel that we could offer some really valuable insight on, what the process is like on our end and what we feel has been either redundant or useful. And so we hope that in the future we can have more discussions with the zoning board and other involved parties about how to make this industry not just thrive, but also easier to get into. Taxes are also another thing that the government took inspiration from the US. And right now, the issue that we're facing with taxation is really two things. One is the actual level of taxation, and two would be the implementation of it has been rather interesting. And it's caused a little bit of confusion on our end, and not just our end. I think other industry players have also expressed the same sentiment. So we, again, also hope for more stakeholder input, or we hope to have more opportunities to provide our input on how the industry should be taxed and how it should be taxed in order for us to be a viable industry. Well, we hope that we can work with government stakeholders to lower the barriers to entry, especially with regard to taxation. With high taxes, it makes it pretty difficult to enter the industry, so producers would not want to participate if they can't afford to do so, if they're looking at their projections and they don't feel that they can make enough to pay that 15% excise tax. Then they're probably less likely to participate in the market. Same thing with consumers. If, we're taxing 15% at every transaction across the supply chain, that could potentially raise the price to where it's not competitive with our unlicensed suppliers here on island, and it would basically force them to not participate, or they would be less inclined to participate in the industry just because it's more expensive to do so. We hope to have more discussions with our regulators so that the industry can be easier to enter, and that this becomes a market that people want to participate in and continue to participate in. With regard to stigma, we built this business the way it is for a reason. We have both, my partner and I have both, been off island, experienced lots of different things, and traveled and met different kinds of people. And in our travels, we've discovered that lots of different people smoke cannabis. And as time goes on, especially as millennials, we're seeing a professional class that considers cannabis to be a regular part of life, nothing to be afraid of, really. And I don't think everyone necessarily sees it that way, and that's totally fine. But the way we've set up the business is with that mindset of like, this is a regular store. This is not a hole in the wall. This is not, it's nothing like that. This is just a regular store that you can walk down the street. You can go in and get a product that is very normal to you, So if anything, we're just kind of leading by example. We want to treat this product like it's a normal thing that, we see every day, and that anyone from any walk of life can enjoy for whatever reason that they have, right? And so when you walk into the store, you won't feel you won't feel like we've made certain types of assumptions about who you are. We're just going to sell you cannabis.
Thank you to Victor and Alexis for sitting down with us, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Pacific Matters. Have a great week.